And on this Mother's Day, where we celebrate all mothers, we celebrate even the mothers that failed us in some way. So happy Mother's Day to mothers, adopted mothers, wannabe mothers, and mothers living in a male body. Motherhood's this blessed role, and it's complicated. It brings us a lot of love, joy, pain, suffering. And as Amy said, it's not for the faint of heart. Whether you gave birth or adopted, choosing to love and care for a life is this high order. And once you've done it, it's so sacred. And you can't unbirth. So once your children are here, they're there. And you worry about them. I still worry about my 40-somethings. So may you be blessed, loved, and appreciated today, even if your children aren't expressing it to you in a way that you would like it to be expressed. Because this role, in any form, truly is a blessing. And I think mothers understand that. It's a way of us embracing the feminine, which is the topic of our talk today. Embracing that softer side of us. I always provide you with a question, so here's the question of the day. What's the one choice that you can make today to embrace your softer side, release expectations of how things should have been, and live in a place in which love and creativity abide? What is the one choice you can make today to embrace your softer side, to release expectations of how things should have been, and live in a place in which love and creativity abide? I'm a mother and a grandmother, and some of you might not know me very well, so I thought since it was Mother's Day, I might take a little bit of time just to tell you a little bit about myself. I gave birth to two fabulous children, Tanya Stricker and Richard Stelt, and they grew up calling me Mama. And I actually miss hearing my son call me Mama because he's no longer with us on this planet. But he was here for 28 years and taught me a lot in that time. I have another daughter, also named Tanya, Tanya Spring, and I mothered her in a different way from the time that she was about 14. And she's no less precious to me. Mothers, kids that we adopt in our heart, they live there with great energy. And it's amazing how our hearts are able to expand no matter how many children we have. And what I know is that both my Tanyas have these huge, marvelous hearts. They're both loving and loyal, and they've taught me a lot about life. In their own way, they're still teaching me how to love completely under all circumstances, how to let go and let them be who they are, and find their own way, even though I might do things differently. And also how to hang on, but not too tight. All things I think all mothers have to go through learning. I do have four fabulous grandchildren, and like all grandparents, I think my grandchildren are just fabulous. And I actually think we're all correct in that particular instance, that grandchildren give us a chance to love more completely. We're not learning how to parent, so we have this opportunity to just love them unconditionally and probably allow them to do things we never would have let our own children do. Not things that are dangerous, but those type of things that might fall into the indulgences category. And if you're a grandparent, you probably know what I mean about that. And today we're talking about embracing the feminine, that side of us that's the softer side. That's a must when we're parents. I've seen a lot of funny posts in the last few weeks about parents who are staying home with their kids and how they're having to try to be the daycare providers and the teachers. And I suspect that the good news is that after all of this is over and the kids get back to school and the other kids are back in daycare, that those teachers and daycare providers are probably going to be hugely appreciated, a lot more than they were 2 months ago. Sometimes raising a child can seem like an impossible task. Sometimes we think we're doing it alone, and we can be really hard on ourselves about not doing it right. Bringing a child into the world is a feat in itself, actually. For me, it was a little mini nightmare because I had absolutely no idea how to be a parent or what I was doing. Here I was, a mathematician, an engineer, and this little 9-pound bundle of joy was bringing me to my knees and I was crying with her sometimes because I had pulled out all my bag of tricks and she was still crying and I didn't know how to help her. And I think to make it worse, I never babysat, so I never got any instructions on how to take care of little babies. And I was the baby of the family, so there was nobody else that behind me that I helped nurture. And it wasn't that I didn't have a nurturing side, it was just that I really didn't know what I was doing. And on top of that, I was thousands of miles away from my family who could have maybe helped me along the way. Fortunately for me, my first child was very healthy and she was very independent. Somehow, I think that maybe in her choosing me to be her mom, that she knew that she was going to have to help me through the process. And she also happened to be very creative and independent. Some things that I didn't have within me at that time. I wasn't confident. I wasn't independent, really that independent a lot at that time in my life. And she really knew who she was. She was so creative and artistic that at one point, when she had drawn a ice cream cone on my white bedroom carpet, she led me down the hall to see it. So proud of her work. Now, the interesting thing is, I think every parent has had the ice cream cone situation. And I'm standing there looking at an ice cream cone drawn with red lipstick on my white carpet and thinking, she's really proud of this. And actually, it was a pretty good ice cream cone for a 2-year-old. And how can you get upset with a child when they're showing you part of who they are and how artistic they can be? And gratefully, I, in that moment, was able to say to her, wow, that's fabulous. And maybe next time we won't put it on the carpet. However, I think there's a lot of people that grew up with parents that when a child was trying to show their creativity or show who they were, the parents didn't understand it. And so they might not have gotten a loving, kind response to how they were. I was parented in a loving and kind way, so I had within me the knowledge of the way you parent is to be kind and loving and to let a child know how creative they are, that they can do whatever they want to do, hence the engineer in the 60s. My child didn't always get that, but whenever I had that opportunity to recognize that, I believe that it was important to let love lead, to let that situation within us nurture who she was. I think that what's important is not what we say, or not that we set boundaries, because kids need boundaries, but that we enforce the boundaries in a loving way with the softer side. And I want to say now that I'm aware that there are many people out there that didn't get nourished as they were growing up. Some of them got no love at home, and they didn't have a village to also help raise them in a kind and wonderful way. The reality is that mothers and parents can't always be there for what we need. Now, I was blessed with a daughter who embraced that concept probably from day one, that she wasn't going to get from her mom everything she needed because I didn't really know how to do it. And it might be why Papa gave her the nickname the old lady, because she grew up just being wise beyond her years, I think. But she had chosen me as a mom, and she embraced what she needed, which was that this wise little girl knew that somewhere out in that infinite universe, there had to be other ways for her to get what she needed rather than from her mom that didn't know exactly how to do that. It's not that I didn't care for her, that I didn't love her deeply in the depth of my bones and give her food and shelter. It was just that I didn't know what I didn't know. And as I learned more, I got better. And my son was the one that was the significant receiver of the fact that I had already had 2.5 years to figure out parenthood. Our kids aren't as fragile as we think they are sometimes, thank goodness. They're really stronger than we give them credit for sometimes. And I think sometimes there are children that are actually so strong, and they have to be strong because they're living in a home situation where their parents have been worn down maybe by the conditions of their own lives. But we come into this life with infinite spirit that's ready to go, ready to take on that world. And if we hang on to that, we know we can, that we have when we're born, wow. The problem is that sometimes we forget that we have that infinite spirit within us, that place within us that's ready to take on the world. And when we decide that we're not creative, our world gets smaller. We put the more limitations we put on our world, the more we decide that we're not good enough to do this, or we don't have the resources to do this, or we're not smart enough to do this. That frame of mind actually reduces our life experience. So we can always get back, though, to that place within us that's that little spirit that says, wow, I can do anything. Kids are resilient. You ever notice? They don't let themselves stay down for a long time. Unfortunately, when we get to be adults, we seem to have lost a little bit of that resilience. I actually have to say, as much as I don't like seeing all my grandkids always with their faces in their technology, that there are some things about some of the games of the technology that I think have actually taught them some really good life qualities. If you look at the games, most of the games have levels to them. And the kids don't look at losing on a certain level as a big deal. Oh my gosh, I lost. What they look at is, oh, I'm going to keep trying so that I can master this level and go on to the next one. And I think that in itself is a great life lesson. Sometimes lessons that we as parents haven't been able to instill in them. The fact that the way that you continue to go is to keep trying and to master whatever level you're in at life so that you can move into something even better. When we're willing to face life with the same tenacity as kids are facing these games this day, life is going to change a lot. What if we thought each day that just finding a way to move forward, to be more closely connected with what it is that we want, was the real gold? That overcoming whatever obstacles that showed up that day was really the goal for us for that one day. I think that would be an interesting shift. And anyone who doesn't believe that we came here to be who we were meant to be has never had a child that looked like they came out of another gene pool. My daughter had so many artistic talents that I had none of. She showed her creativity in such a different way than I show mine, that it was interesting to me to look at her and see how much confidence she had in life and in who she could be. Her second grade teacher named her Little Miss Serendipity because she went through life knowing exactly what she wanted and doing it with great joy. Now, I'd like to think that I was a part of that, but I think she was born that way. Maybe I gave her a few tips, but basically, I think that was just her innate nature. We all come here to be who we were meant to be. Ernest Holmes said this about the feminine principle. The universal womb of nature is creative and receptive, and it unconditionally nurtures and grows whatever falls into its embrace. Wow, talk about a softer way of looking at life. We human mothers nurture with, well, I nurtured with fear, incompetence, a little bit of the history of, I've never done this before. Some mothers nurture from a place of having been neglected themselves and perpetuating that with their children. But whatever it is, what if every man and woman embrace that divine mother who unconditionally nurtures and grows whatever falls into their embrace? I just think that's such a beautiful concept. What if we attended to all of our children in that way, with that feminine side that nurtures? Sometimes the tricky part is nurturing and providing the freedom for each child to respond to life in the way they're meant to respond. And giving them that freedom to make mistakes, to experience some pain, to suffer a little bit because they made a bad choice, or a choice that we wouldn't have made or would have guided them out of if they'd just asked. I have a friend that says it's about staying in your own lane. I didn't stay in my own lane with my daughter a lot, but I tried to. And I think that that's important, is that what we recognize is that we do the best we can at the moment. And for some people, their best is better than other people's. And for some of us, we didn't experience the best of what our moms could have given us if they had known differently. So I am happy to report that my daughter and I are great friends as adults. She did at one point say she had to move out to go to college, and I, of course, was very sad about that because we were really connected. She told me years later that the reason that she did that is because she hadn't quite figured out who she was when she was around me. She needed space to figure out exactly who she was on this planet, wise behind her, beyond her years as she always was. And I think that's important for us to recognize, that when our children are doing things that we might not have done that way, or that we wish that they would do differently, as mothers and as those unconditional nurturing people, we need to let them try it out, to give them the bandwidth to make their mistakes and overcome so that they can move to that next level of mastery in their own game of life. Men and women both express their creativity in different ways. There was a man named Doug Dietz. He was the creator of the MRI machine, and he recognized that children, a lot of children, don't want to be in a confined space like the MRI machines. And so what he did is he used his own creativity to create a machine that looked like a pirate ship. And as the kids would be going into him, he'd say, "Okay, now be really still and quiet. You don't want the pirates to get you." He was so creative, and he was nurturing those children that needed an MRI by creating a space for them that was loving and felt safe, felt like it was a game. The French mystic Pierre Desjardins said this: "The conclusion is always the same. Love is the most powerful energy of the world." There's a story about Buddha and the bandit. And this macho bandit came to Buddha and he said, "I'm the most ferocious bandit in the land. I'm the mightiest in the world, and I'm going to prove it by killing you." And Buddha looked him in the face and said, "Well, if you're going to kill me, at least you could grant me 2 wishes." And he says, "Okay, get on with it." So Buddha said, "Well, the first wish is that you cut off that small branch from that tree over there." So slice with the sword, and the branch falls to the ground. And the bandit says, "Okay, what's the second wish?" Buddha went over and picked up the branch that had fallen off the tree, and he handed it to the bandit, and he says, "Now, put it back." Legend has it that that bandit actually was enlightened on that day, because he realized that the true meaning of power in life was to create it, not to destroy it. It was easy to destroy it. Love creates, it doesn't destroy. We live in a universe of infinite possibilities. Possibilities that sometimes we can hardly imagine. And what I know is that the divine has in store for you things far greater than you might imagine for yourself. If you could just believe in all those possibilities, if you could just nurture yourself, be that unconditional, loving mother to yourself, to imagine all the things that you could accomplish, what would life be like? Because a lot of times we let go of our dreams. We think that life has to be in a certain way, or that certain people have to be a certain way. I know I've done that, had expectations of people, and they didn't get met. If we were blessed with a mother that did things right, great. I was blessed with a fabulous mother. Some of us weren't. Are we still living in that, my mom didn't do for me what she should have? It's my mom's fault. Are we living in that victim space of having a mother that didn't nurture us the way we wish to be nurtured? I think for some of us, at least, in the last few weeks, we've been living in a place that we didn't expect to be living in. That things should have been different than they are right now in this stay-at-home mode. Because our normal way of living it's been like the rug has been pulled out from underneath it, and we're having to figure these things out as we go along. Things aren't the way we expected them to be. I said on Easter that it's almost like Mother Nature sent us to our room. And in our rooms, we're supposed to be thinking about what we're doing and who we want to be and who we're being on this planet. I think what happened was we got the proverbial spiritual 2x4. The divine was making an attempt to say, okay, where on the planet are you nurturing? Where are you loving? Or are you destroying? The same time that we're in our rooms, we can become aware of what's important, what's really important. I've seen a lot of parents riding bikes with their kids, and I heard that there was a bike shortage. Yay! Yeah, that's wonderful. Their children don't usually pay a whole lot of attention to things that are changing, but they're paying attention to the fact that they know they're being nurtured more now than they were a couple months ago, in general. They're getting more attention that is family-oriented attention. We're finding that softer side of life, looking at life in a different way, in a more loving way, looking at what's really important. Perhaps it's time we release our need for being nurtured by someone who failed us. We release that lamenting that our mothers maybe weren't mothering the way we wanted them to be. We release that process that's within us and those expectations within us that things be different than what they are. And our need to seek out what we didn't get when we were growing up. And if we let go of all of that, imagine the space that we would have in our hearts for creativity and for love. Imagine if we let go of all of that, how much more love would show up for us. Our spiritual bikes have training wheels right now. We're stuck at home and we're starting to really take a good look at what's going on and what's happening in our own lives. And the training wheels can help us have the confidence to seek out some answers, to connect with that higher power, to know that whatever's going on, there's some divine guidance out there. Maybe it's in the form of the person that you were thinking about in our meditation. And if they're no longer on the planet, maybe they still can guide you. I truly believe that there are connections with everyone, no matter what plane of living they happen to be on. It's really up to us to get what we need and to provide our children with that love that's going to nurture them into being caring and confident and loving adults. Somehow we have to move on to this greater sense of nurturing, that we allow that universe that breathed into us, that little spirit of life that came here knowing that we could do anything, that we remember it, that we know that the divine is whispering to us. We just need to take the time to listen. And sometimes that means sitting in the silence, and sometimes it means taking a walk. For you, it might mean singing a song and just noticing how that had you feeling. But once we have a rich base of love and connection, we truly can live this life in which we feel nurtured every day, all day. We don't need a manual for how to live. Our little kids didn't come with manuals. I kind of wish they had, but they didn't. We were born with this perfect operating system. We breathe thousands of breaths a day and don't even have to think about how we're doing it. When we wake up in the morning, we know that when we put our feet on the ground, we're going to be able to go where we need to go. And we don't have to think about how we're making every step. We have this mastermind that's taking care of all of those things so that we can put our attention on the things that matter in our heart. How to love, how to be kind, how to be generous, how to know that we're paying attention when somebody says something to us, not just to the words, but to the message they're trying to convey. So I want to end with knowing that life was never meant to be hard. We just need to remember some of these words of Ernest Holmes. We can be certain there is an intelligence in the universe to which we may come that will guide and inspire us, a love which overshadows. Let's pray. So I just take a deep, nourishing breath and I connect with that divine life that is love and joy and peace and ease and guidance and wisdom. And I know that all that God is lives within me and within each person on this planet. What I know to be the truth is that on this Mother's Day, we are paying attention to how we love ourselves and how we nurture ourselves and those people that are in our lives. I know that love is what matters, and that love creates, it doesn't destroy. So I'm grateful. I'm grateful for this opportunity today to be a part of this community, to come into your home and provide a little bit of wisdom. I'm grateful to know that wherever each of us are, God is. And it's from that gratitude that I release these words into the law of mind, spirit, and action, because I know the truth. God has seen the beautiful garden that this community is creating and has already said yes. So I just say amen, and we can affirm it together. And so it is. So this is our time for offerings, where we are providing information and providing of our time, talents, and treasures, and particularly right now of our treasures, so that when we have an opportunity, we actually come back together. We'll have a place to do that and an opportunity to be in person together. There's several ways that you can donate. You can donate either in person. You can use Zelle or Venmo at the telephone number 225-587-8887. You can text by just putting the amount in a text that you send to 1-225-320-5100. Or you can mail your check to CSL, Southeast Louisiana, 445 Magnolia Wood Avenue, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, 70808. All of this information is on our website on the page that says donate. You can use the donate button there to go out and pay through PayPal or through a charge card. And we have an offertory blessing that I'd like to say. From the love of pure spirit within me, I bless this gift. I send it forth to heal, bless, and prosper. It does good work in the world and returns to me multiplied abundantly. And so it is. Thank you very much for all of your donations. They make a difference in our community. We also have an opportunity to be in community on a phone line after this message is over. We meet at 11:30. The conference line number is 515-604-9000. That's 515-604-9000. You will be asked for a participation code, and that's 475220, and then you put in a pound sign. So I hope you'll join us for that conversation. It's always interesting to hear other people's opinions of what's going on and what the message meant. So in closing, I'd just like you to remember that Disney claims to be the happiest place on earth, but at the Center for Spiritual Living in Southeast Louisiana, I can know that we are the most joyful. So until we meet again, may you be wrapped in the arms of love and kindness. And may you remember that love creates, it never destroys. Have a great week. Happy Mother's Day.